Hey everyone, welcome back to Land Investing Online, where we teach students how to profitably buy and sell vacant land. This is the simplest, least competitive, and most profitable sector of real estate. For more information, visit landinvestingonline.com to join our free Discord with tons of successful investors. Come learn from the best. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever you're listening on. This helps us get results, helps us get feedback on us, comment on them, be involved, like and subscribe them. If you're getting any value from them, it means a ton to Ron and I. But as always, guys, I'm Daniel Apke, joined by my brother and business partner, Ron Apke. Welcome back, Ron.
Hey, Dan. Good to be here. Really excited about this topic.
Topic is, can anyone be a successful entrepreneur? I do like this topic too. I love to talk about land, but I also like to talk about entrepreneurship, personal and professional growth, things like that. Really is what I love to do. But before we start and get into that, let's go over a question from one of our members. They asked, can I start by buying really cheap properties for less risk and less money? It's less risk because it's less money. So they just really want to see, if they can buy maybe a few $1,000 property instead of a $30,000 property. Ron, get into this.
Yeah. You gotta, if you're buying really cheap, like, I'm trying to think, Dan. I talked to someone the other day. I think it was actually in Discord. And I told him, try to aim for like buying for $3,000 to $15,000. If you're trying with proof of concept, a couple of things with that price range, especially like $3,000 to $5,000 buy price. One, you want to make sure you're selling it for 10 to 12 grand. We do not suggest self-closing deeds. So recording your own deeds and stuff. We talk about this a lot. We want to use attorneys and title companies to close. It makes it way easier. So if you're buying for 3, try to sell for 10. You can make 5 grand after closing cost. If you're buying for 5, sell for 12. But a couple of things with this price range, you have enough spread, I think, to use an attorney where you're not spending a ton of money. You're going to be making enough money on it where you actually, the work is worth it. If you're buying for $1,000, selling for $2,500, like, I don't think the work is worth it because you got to record your own deed and stuff like that. Another thing is there are more sellers at that price point. Like, there just are. Some people might say something different. Like, no, if you send mail for $3,000 to $6,000 properties, you are going to get more deals than someone sending for 50 to whatever, $50,000+ properties. It's just what's going to happen unless you're offering 80% at $50,000. I really, if you need proof of concept, if you want some deal flow, that's a good way to get started. If you send 2,000 mailers at that price range, I'd be extremely surprised if you don't get a deal or two at least.
Yeah, and I'll talk a little bit about this in this topic actually, but that's just a sign you're scared, to be honest. Like, we have funders for you. You're not even paying for this property. Think bigger. Like, I know you want proof of concept, but don't buy for $1,200 and sell for $2,400. Just think bigger. We're showing you all these deals we're getting and our members are getting. Like, I don't know. I just don't do it. You can, but don't buy a desert square for $500 to $1,500. Buy something for $10,000, sell it for $30,000. It's going to feel better. It's going to make you more money. It's going to be more sustainable. More room for air too. I don't know. I'm very against those cheaper properties personally. I'm not against them. I just think there's room to make money in it. I just think bigger is all I have to say. But let's get into the show. Today's topic, can anyone be a successful entrepreneur? So what defines a successful entrepreneur? This depends on your lifestyle. Doesn't mean you do $5,000 of profit. Maybe you do $150,000 of profit and just want to travel and work remote. Maybe you want to save for your kids' tuition. Maybe you want to do $10 million or $25 million of profit. It all depends on your lifestyle. And there's a ton we can get into with what defines success. But for the purpose of this show, let's focus on people who want to grow, and we'll define success in this topic, in this episode, success in this business and real estate as long-term growth and sustainability. So that's what we're going to talk about. So long-term growth and sustainability is what we're going to define success for the purpose of this episode. I know we can talk a million, for hours and hours on what success is and it can mean something different, and ultimately happiness and sustainability and all that good stuff. But whatever, we're just going to talk about long-term growth and sustainability. And I really want to hit long-term growth because this is something that I've talked about and thought of a lot this year because the market's dropping. Last year, people thought they were invincible with getting their 30% returns and getting their $100,000 of equity in their house and getting all this stuff. Although the housing market's still hot, but the real estate market's not, and the housing market's probably coming next, maybe, with interest rates rising and things dropping and people spending less money. It's going to affect the housing market eventually. But long-term sustainability, when these markets go down like 2007, 2008, 2009, a lot of the businesses go under and belly up and close. A lot more doors, you'll see for sale signs on different doors and for lease signs on downtown areas. So long-term growth and sustainability gets you through these times. That's why we're going to define that as our success. But Ron, what in your mind, first off, do you have anything to add to what I just said about how we're defining success in this?
No, I think that's good. Like you said, like there's a whole rabbit hole. We'll probably do more episodes on this too, maybe where we define it a little differently. But for the purpose of this episode, I think that's really good. Like an entrepreneur is not a successful one's not someone who can do it for a year or 2 years. Like it's an entrepreneur. It's something that you can continually do, and that's your living for life, essentially. So yeah, I like that definition, man.
Yeah, there's ups, downs. You got to get through them all. There's going to be years maybe you grow 2%, maybe you lose 2%, and then there's years you gain 80%. You get through those tough times. And I think of our dad, who owns a carpet cleaning business for 30-something years, I think now. And I remember going through like the most recent recession. I remember like what that was, but those businesses get through that, and it really shows something about it's so easy to have a profitable business when the market's up. Like it's just too easy. You got to have a good business when the market's down, and then we'll talk. And it's a really cool topic too, and things are changing now. So I'm curious to see how things play out. But in your mind, Ron, I have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different things written down here for what makes a successful entrepreneur. And I didn't take too much time thinking of these necessarily. These were the things that came to my mind with what we see in our business. But I want to hear your thoughts first on what makes a successful entrepreneur. You can start with 1 or 2, and we'll talk about those.
So the first thing that I kind of have, and it's anything like, and it's not lack of fear, it's handling fear correctly. I think fear can drive you. Like I really do think fear can be a driver in business. Like it's not like I'm scared to do this, so it's the wrong thing. Like I'm not feeling the right thing. Fear can be a really good driver for starting a business, for making money. So I think what I have written down here is handling fear. Overcoming fear is really big in business. If you're scared to buy your first property, and that's you're a real estate entrepreneur, you call yourself a real estate entrepreneur, you're probably not a successful one. So I think handling and dealing with fear correctly is very important. I don't know if you have anything to add. I don't want to ramble on too much about this one in general, but I think it's, it. If you're trying to be an entrepreneur and you're scared and it's crippling you, that it's going to be tough long term. What we're talking about, long term and sustainable, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, some signs of fear are because you might not know you're scared, but some signs of fear are procrastination. You just keep saying you're going to get it done and getting it done, and you just never get it done. Or you're 4 weeks later and you were supposed to get it done a week ago, or a month ago, and you still haven't made any moves. So that's one, and we'll talk about that on who fails. And I actually have that written down. People who can't handle there, but I don't know. I have resilience, and I think that kind of goes hand in hand with fear. Honestly, is because there's going to be hard times, obviously, and there's going to be great times, and you can't get too up. I heard a great entrepreneur talk about this on my Instagram feed the other day. He's like, you can't get too up when things are good, and you can't get too down when things are good. There's always a balance. And there's a book I'm reading by Jocko right now, and he talks about how the best leaders are balanced. The book's called Strategic Leadership Tactics or something like that. It's a great book. But he talks about balance is like the number one key. And I just think of that, like, you don't want to get too down. You don't want to get too up. You need to stay resilient. You need to fight through the hard times. I think entrepreneurship as a whole is all about balance. I think that's the biggest thing. And that takes me to like, some people think entrepreneurships means working 100-hour weeks and just getting up at 4 a.m. and working. That's not balance. Like the balance there would be consistency, which we'll talk about now. What makes a successful entrepreneur is consistency. That's a main thing. And I think that goes with the balance that I'm talking about right now. So it doesn't mean working 100-hour weeks. It might mean it's all about balance, right? Being consistent and, moving forward every single day and knowing what work moves the needle forward and what things move the needle is very important. But I have consistency, which kind of brings me to that. What do you have to say, Ron?
Yeah. 100%. Like, and I hear a lot of people talk about it. So it's easy on days when you're motivated. Like, it's easy to get things done, to do things, to get up in the morning, get that workout in. But what about those days where maybe you don't sleep as well? Maybe you just wake up and you don't feel that good. Those are the days that define you as an entrepreneur in my mind. So the days when you wake up and you don't feel like doing anything, are you going to get something done, or are you going to sit in your bed and watch Netflix? Those are the days I think that define entrepreneurs and define successful ones. But I had something, Dan, and it kind of goes hand in hand with what all this, personal accountability. You write, like, let's say people do things different. I'm not going to tell you how to schedule your week or anything like that. But let's say you have a list of things you have to get done on Monday. The ability to hold yourself accountable to those, 5-7 things, it's so easy to push things off and say, I can do it tomorrow. You don't have a boss overseeing you. You wrote that on that list for a reason. Being able to hold yourself accountable to that list, to that schedule, to that meeting you said you're going to have. In our business, for me personally, getting that mail out, like, there's no one who's going to yell at me. But it's the consistency, it's the accountability I have for myself, that I'm going to be upset with myself if I don't get that done.
Yeah. And I did it's called an identity map. And I've been kind of doing some life coaching sessions, and they had me write, my whole identity map of what makes like me and what drives like everything I do. And it's really cool to see, actually, like all the different things. But one of the things I have is freedom and flexibility, and it shows why I'm an entrepreneur. But like Ron's saying, personal accountability. If you're not accountable, that freedom and flexibility can get absolutely out of control. No one's going to yell at me for sitting in bed. No one's going to tell me what to do or what not to do. You have to be accountable for what you do. I didn't have that on my list. I didn't even think of that, but I think I didn't think of that because it comes so easy to me personally. I don't have a problem with accountability. But if you do, you have to find a system or an accountability partner or get in a group to really hold you accountable. You have to find a way. That is so, so, so important, because there are going to be weeks, months, days, maybe even a year that's hard. Like Gary Vee even talks about that. You might have an off year. Screw an off day, Gary Vee said. He looks back at his time. He's had off years before. Like there'd be a year you'd be like, wow, 29. When I was 33, that sucked. But you'll look back and see that and be like, that was my off year. So like, you just have to hold yourself accountable. Like I said, you have to know what moves the business forward and what you need to do to move forward, and keep yourself accountable. If that's hard, we'll have another episode probably on accountability. I think that's so important, Ron. That's a great point. That's all I have to add, because this business does have freedom and flexibility, just like all entrepreneurship businesses for the most part. And just being an entrepreneur in general, you have to find a way. That's very, very important, Ron. Great. I think that's awesome. Another thing I had was, so we talked about resilience and fear and getting through fear, personal accountability, and consistency so far. Another one I had was adaptability. And this might not be important for now, but like I defined success earlier in this episode, is long-term growth and sustainability. Adaptability is meaning in 10 years, the business isn't going to look like it does today. And maybe I don't need to adapt this year, maybe not next year, but if I want to double, triple, quadruple my revenue in the 10 years, and keep growing at that 10-year mark, things are going to look different. Maybe direct mail is illegal. maybe like who knows what changes. You just have to be able to adapt. I think that's really important. You can't be stuck in your own way. You all see the business owners that don't even have websites up, or their websites like the jankiest looking thing or whatever it is. Those people didn't adapt in when all these changes happened in the early 2010-ish era. And they still haven't adapted. And those people are still in business, some of them, because they are so good at the other things they do. But the ones who have flourished and really grown took that to the next level. They got on it early enough. They spent money on it, invested in all that stuff at the right times. They adapted and adjusted. What do you have to add, Ron?
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think our dad is a good example of that. Like, you cannot just say, like, I'm not going to have a website. I'm not going to take online scheduling. I'm not going to do this. And that's for a service industry business, as Daniel said. Things change. Technology is changing faster than ever. It's evolving. It's becoming more helpful for businesses. So those new businesses that are starting are going to pass you if you're not adapting to changes, because when they're starting their business, they're going to obviously use the newest technology, whatever it is. So if you're not adapting, adding technologies, improving your systems, I think that I'm becoming really big on systems as a whole. It's so important in a business. It can take so much time off. It can make you so much more efficient in a week. Your old 60-hour work week could be a 40 or 30-hour work week if you improve your systems and how things are done. If you really sit down and write down what you're actually wasting time on, and if it's actually valuable, like, you'd be shocked how much time is just wasted. But going back to adaptability, I think that's a really big one, Dan. You might not fail this year or next year or the following year, but long-term growth and sustainability, like we're talking about, is going to be severely hindered if you're not adapting to changing markets or technology.
Yeah, and you don't want to change too quick, but at the same time, you can test things out. I love testing things out. I am not scared of testing 10 to 20% as an amount where if it fails, big deal, you learn. But like an example might be, I'm trying to think of today's market, what's going on. So NFTs are huge, obviously, cryptos, things like that. So maybe in a year from now, it's not really there yet, but maybe in a year from now, it's becoming popular for businesses to take Bitcoin. And it is kind of popular now, but not too much. But maybe it becomes very popular to take Bitcoin. Maybe instead of saying, oh, we're only going to accept Bitcoin and jumping in like that, we're getting ahead of the game. Maybe let's offer accepting in Bitcoin and see if that works and see how that goes. And just coming up with a plan like that, testing it out, like I said. So that's an example. Another thing I have on here with what makes a successful entrepreneur, and we can go into this for hours probably, and we'll probably do two more, I think. And I'll add this one, and then Ron, you can take the next one. But I have surrounding yourself with people to help you grow. So surrounding yourself with the right people. That can also be overlooked. I know you've probably heard it. You are what you surround yourself with a million times. But like, it's easy to just hang out with, say, your high school friends and not really venture out much. It's easy to hang out with whoever you're comfortable with. But if you're going out and finding new friends or, people to really help you move forward if you need to, maybe you have a great friend group right now. You might have to get rid of some friends. Maybe they're negative on you. Maybe they're just really against your values and don't align with you. Those people are going to hold you back. You might not know it, but you need to be around positive people. You need to be around people who push you forward. All that stuff is very, very important for sustainability. I like to surround myself with like-minded people. So people into personal growth, I love. People who are, personal growth, looking to move them forward, always looking to do better, ethical people who are looking to help the world, things like that, because one, you're going to be a happier person surrounding yourself with them. And two, it's going to help push your business further, even though you might not know it at the time. It's so subconscious. It's hard to even think how that changes your life, but it does. And I think it's proven it does. What do you have to say, Ron?
Yeah, I had we're going to let's loop my last one and this into the same thing. I had learning/networking as my last one, or continuous learning. But what you're saying, Dan, is, it's unbelievably important. Like, you are who you hang out with. It's just a fact. And you're going to evolve in a good way if you're hanging out with people better than you. Let's say you're making whatever, $50,000 a year, but you're hanging out with people who make, and I don't want to make this all about money, but I think it's an easy example. Cause it's just, there's an amount. Let's say you're making whatever, $100,000 a year, and you're hanging out with people who make $50,000 a year, who drink every weekend, to do whatever, who don't have goals as far as beyond what they're doing currently. They're okay where they are. You're the same person. You go hang out with the people that make $1 or $2 million a year. And there's a lot more people making that than you guys think. $1 million or $2 million a year. It's going to expand your mind and make you think something is possible that you didn't think was possible when you're hanging out with different people. Like, you are who you hang out with. You'll become who you hang out with. It's something that I personally am trying. I'm a pretty big introvert, but it's something I'm really trying to extend myself with people who are better than me, not just financially, just relationship wise and all that, and goal wise, and they're aligned. Like, that's what I want to hang out with. Those are the people that, I want to be around, because that's what I want to be. Not that I'm looking up to them or idolizing them or anything, but you are who you hang out with. And like Daniel said, it can be difficult. Like, it's not an easy thing to do. An entrepreneur that I follow, I forget his name for some reason, but he said he doesn't even go home for like the holidays anymore, because people, his high school friends, his college friends, think he is who he used to be. And it's just not the case. Like, it's been 10, 15 years. Like, no, I'm not that person anymore. I'm not going to go out and drink with you 3 nights in a row on the weekend. You go home for Thanksgiving, you drink 3 nights in a row. It's just, separating yourself from those people is really difficult, but it can really help you grow personally, professionally, and just in all aspects of your life. It's something that needs to be talked about more, in my opinion, Dan.
Yeah, and there's so many, like, you might be saying, wow, I'm in Anchorage, Alaska, and there's not many like-minded people here. You can find them. Maybe it's virtual. So I just joined a mastermind. Yesterday was our first call, and it's so cool because, well, before I joined that mastermind, I wanted to make sure I'm not like too far ahead of people, because I've been in other groups before where it feels like I'm kind of, I don't mean to sound arrogant or anything, but like my business is further along than the other people's business. Maybe they're just starting or whatever it is, or they haven't made much profit yet or whatever that is. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't ahead of that group, because when you're in the middle and you see these other people, like these other very successful people, crushing it and crushing their goals, and numbers are great and all that looks great, it moves you forward, and it makes you think, like, instead of, like Ron said, to his point, if you're hanging around people who all make $40,000 and you're making 55, you feel like you're the shit. But like, you start hanging around people who are making great 6 figures and who have this great balance to their life. And that's really what I look at. I look at these people who have balance, like we talked about earlier, and people who are spending time with their friends and family, or doing whatever they love to do, and really making an effort to grow personally as well. Like, those are the people who I want to surround myself with. But then that reflects to their business, and they're doing great things with their business, and they're changing the world, and they have aspirations to change the world. Like, they're not just going about their day. Like, these people want to make a difference and change the world, like, in whatever way it is. That's what I like to see, these people with vision, and surround yourself with that. But that being said, Ron keeps talking about drinking on the weekends. Like, if you like to party and have fun, go for it. Celebrating wins, especially. Like, I'm watching a documentary right now on WeWork, and it's not a good example because it's called like We Crashed, and it's about how how this company failed. Some of you probably have watched it, but Adam Newman, the CEO and founder, ex-CEO and founder, loved to party. So he made it like a party culture. They were all doing these videos and partying and drinking and had these big events and stuff. That was like his culture, is like celebrate the wins and have fun. And I know it might be a bad example because of how that ended, but he did build an $8 billion company that was evaluated at $40 billion at one point. And he did get paid out $1.9 billion. And his journey wasn't that ethical, but I'm saying, like, you can make a culture with how you fit in. Maybe you like to have fun. Maybe you like whatever it is you like to do. You can do it your way. But yeah, the main point is just surrounding yourself with the people who move you forward. And last thing I want to get into before we close this out is the people who failed, because we talked about what makes an entrepreneur. Let's talk about the main people who fail. And the first thing I want to add to that is the main people who fail are the people who get motivation from listening to David Goggins one morning, and they start their business that morning. And then 3 mornings later, like Ron said, they're not feeling great and they're in bed watching Netflix. So I'd say the people who fail for the most part are the people who don't start. And we see this in our course as well. People join and never make a move. And it's just kind of, I mean, it's crazy to me. You want to stay consistent, obviously. But the people who fail, to be honest, are the people who don't start. Right, Ron?
Without a doubt. Like you can start and then stop. Like it's all these combined, man. Like people who don't do these things, like who aren't consistent, who adaptability probably isn't something you need. But like, if you're not holding yourself accountable and you're scared, like it's all these things. Like we didn't just come up with these things just to say them. Like this is what we see successful people do. The people who fail do the opposite or don't do anything. Lack of action is what I see. Like Daniel and I both, like it's not really us. It's not really me bragging or anything because we'll make mistakes too, but we're not scared to take action. Like we started land when we started land, like it wasn't a 6-month thing. It was we believe in this right now. We're going to get this started. We're going to send mail. We're going to figure this out. So I think those are just the opposite is what people who I see fail, Dan, honestly.
Yeah,
people
we're excited too. I remember I wanted to start the whole land investing journey for a long time. And I was on my way to a cabin and I heard, or I started doing some research, like listening to different things on land in general. And I got really excited and I like put this plan together in my head on the way there. And I called Ron and I like told him about it and sent him some links. And told him like we built out a to-do list that weekend. Actually, I remember sitting at that cabin and building out a to-do list on how to get started. It was a fun time. And then we get home and then it was Christmas and I think we sent our first mail on Christmas Day, Ron.
I think it was the 25th or the 26th. I'm not. I was pricing mail on Christmas. I know
we were trying to learn how to mail merge. We were sitting down. We were struggling on mail merge. I remember for hours, and I was like, I can figure it out. And I was like, no, I got it. And we're like looking at it together for literally this mail merge took us forever. Little did we know we didn't even need to mail merge, but we learned how to do it the hard way. But no, that's just what I mean, taking action. So I have people who don't start, people who quit, and people who are scared and don't overcome their fear, just like Ron talked about. Those are the 3 main things I have. That's all I have for this show, though, Ron. Do you have any last comments or anything to add on that?
No, I think that was really good. Hopefully you guys can take something from this. If you're one who's just absorbing this content, this is my last word, Dan. If you're one who is just absorbing this content every day and like acting like that is action, like no, it might be you're educating a little bit. But you got to actually take some real action if you want to build a business out. Education stops somewhere, like it really does. It needs to be continual education. Education with no action it's nothing. It's crap.
Yeah, and my mastermind leader told me that last night. He's like, you can read a book. It's like people read books to almost say they read books. He didn't put it in those words, but the education, there's so much in one book. He's like, it's sometimes more valuable to read that one book 3 times and implement it than to go to the next book. Because like there's just, I think he said implementing books like was one of his main things for success. And it's like implementing the education, obviously. And it just really boils down to everything we talked about in this show. But guys, thank you so much for joining again. If you're on YouTube, maybe you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever you're on, please like and subscribe this. Comment on our YouTube channel. We love to hear the feedback. This really drives our business forward. We get feedback from it. We see what videos do well by you guys liking it and subscribing. It really helps us out. We appreciate that. Ron and I are very appreciative of that. But other than that, visit landinvestingonline.com. We have a free Discord, which is pretty much just a communication platform to communicate with us and communicate with other investors. Join it. Say hi to Ron and I. We're involved. And other than that, guys, thank you for joining. See you guys next time.
Thanks, guys.